Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about the ethics of ED recovery content and how there's a fine line between inspiring and helpful and triggering, or even like allowing your disorder to be your identity and allowing that to really take over and then rebranding it as recovery content. So I got this idea because when I moved to Wyoming, I started to struggle a lot with the ED. I've had two EDs in my life, and I've struggled on and off since I was 14 years old. And when I first started recovery, when I first started treatment, I posted a lot of recovery content, and looking back, it was really my ED taking charge and then me rebranding it as recovery. And even when I did healthy things like following my meal plan and things like that, my ED was still very much in my head, and I posted a lot of like the before and after pictures. But the thing was I didn't post those because I was healthy or it was inspiring. I posted it for validation, to be like, see, I was underweight, I was sick enough. And while I'm not in the head of these creators that post this kind of content, but I'm pretty sure that I'm not the only one who's posted these kinds of pictures and videos for those reasons. And now I'm not going to call out specific creators because I don't know that that's appropriate, because if they are still really struggling, I don't know that a call out is going to help them. In fact, I don't think it will, because a lot of these creators have been called out time and time again. It's been brought to their attention, like these posts and then these body checks, like this isn't recovery, this is relapse. Saying that to somebody in relapse is not going to help them, and I know that because people said these things to me, and I was like, you don't know anything. But I want to talk a little bit about these before and after pictures, and also the recovery accounts that are triggering. And I guess I just want to bring awareness to it because it's something I struggle with. I've struggled to unfollow a lot of these accounts that trigger me, and I guess part of posting this is holding myself accountable and being like, yeah, if you struggle with seeing these posts and seeing this content, then you need to unfollow them and stop being like, oh, well, some of the content they post is good. I mean, if some of it's triggering to the point where it makes me engage in unhealthy behaviors, then it doesn't matter how good their other content is, because it's doing more harm than good. So, first I want to talk about the natures of EDs. EDs, especially AN, which, if you don't know what that stands for, it's the ED where somebody restricts their food intake. And yeah, it's that ED. I can't say it on YouTube or I'm gonna get demonetized, except the people that post pro-AN content, they don't get demonetized. I love that for me. When I'm spreading awareness, I'm demonetized. But when somebody is spreading negativity and triggering content, then they're not demonetized. And that's seen as fine by YouTube's algorithm because it's AI, and AI doesn't know the difference between spreading awareness and intentionally or unintentionally triggering sick people. But anyway, so as I was saying, the nature of that ED is people are very competitive. It's almost like you want to be the worst, or I guess the best. But being the best means, in this sense, means being the worst, means being the sickest. And people who've never had this, people who've never had that problem, don't understand why anybody would want this. And I can't explain it. I can't explain why it's so competitive. It just is. It's like this thing like, oh, somebody only eats this much a day. Well, I'm gonna take it even farther. Which I know to people that don't have this problem, it doesn't make sense. And even for someone who does have this problem, to me, I can't explain it to people because it doesn't make sense to me why I would want this. But there's a part of my brain, the part of my brain that's trying to protect me from everything that I struggle with and everything I'm scared of. It tells me I need this. And that as long as I do this, I'll be okay and nothing can hurt me. So because the nature of this illness is that it's competitive, posting these before and after pictures where you're emaciated and we can see your bones, that's going to trigger a lot of people. Even people in recovery, it's going to trigger them, and then they're going to be like, well, I've never looked like that, so I must have never been sick enough. And this time I'm going to take it even farther. And if you've had this problem, you know the nature of these disorders. You can't even sit there and be like, well, I had no idea that would be triggering to somebody. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. And a lot of people who've been recovered for years are still posting these things. And I think a lot of it has to do with validation. Like, I was sick, so now I'm allowed to be in this bigger, healthier body that I'm in because I was sick. And the thing about that mindset is it's never enough. You're always going to need that validation because you're searching for external validation and not getting it internally, which is what you really need, is to accept yourself and be like, okay, this is the body I exist in, and I don't need to justify it because it's my body. And instead, we're trying to justify it by being like, well, I used to look like this. I used to do all this to myself and punish myself. So now I'm allowed to just be. But are you allowed to just be if you're constantly justifying it and constantly telling people, oh, well, I used to be like this, so it's okay now. That's part of the very disordered, very distorted thinking that if you really want to be in recovery and you really want to get better, you want to get rid of that altogether and just live in peace and not be defined by this. I really urge creators that post these before and afters or post sick pics where you can see the illness, which I'm gonna go into a lot of why not only for comparison is that problematic, but for the narrative around EDs, it's problematic. But I urge these creators to interrogate, why are you posting these pictures? Do you think it's inspiring to people? Because people have seen these posts over and over, and it doesn't disrupt the narrative around EDs. In fact, it just feeds into them. So I would urge them to try not to post these pictures and to try to focus more on the mental aspects of recovery, because ultimately EDs are a mental illness. It's not just about what they physically do to your body, which of course EDs have devastating effects on your body. I know that from personal experience, but it's a lot more about recovery, is much more about the mental effects and trying to recover mentally, and then through that you also recover physically because you start to take care of your body and not punish yourself and not hurt yourself. Another reason why these recovery posts that are the before and afters and the sick pics, why those are problematic, is that we know now that EDs don't always show up in weight loss, or even when they do, sometimes it's not extreme. Sometimes our bodies protect us from extreme weight loss. And so these posts, they reinforce the misconception that you can tell how sick somebody is from looking at them. Somebody can be very sick and struggling to eat or struggling in other ways, but they may look healthy, and so they may not get support. The people around them may not see it as a problem. They may be like, oh, this person's just weird about food, when it's like, no, they have a real problem and it's not being addressed, because on the outside you can't tell that it's a problem. We know now, experts know now, that EDs don't always show up physically. But these posts invalidate people whose bodies don't change, or they don't change enough for other people to notice and see it as a problem. If we want to advocate for recovery and awareness around EDs, don't we want to disrupt these narratives that we now know are false? It's different if it was in the 90s. You didn't really know back then that EDs can present a lot of different ways on your body, and even somebody who has been underweight in the past, when they relapse, this time they may not be underweight, but that doesn't mean they're not relapsing. ultimately, these posts just reinforce that very toxic stereotype and narrative around this that keeps a lot of people sick, and also it breeds this competitiveness that we don't need in recovery spaces. In recovery spaces, we want to support each other and not be competing with each other. And that's all I had to say today. Maybe it didn't make sense to anybody else except me, but I felt I needed to post this because there are a lot of pro-recovery creators that I've seen relapse and have been pretending that they're not in relapse when everybody else can see, even just with their like poses. They pose in ways that are body checking, because as someone with an ED, you've done these body check poses in the past and you realize this is not coming from a place of recovery. It's coming from a place of, oh, look how prominent I can make my collarbones when I post like this. Oh, you can see my chest plate from this angle. Like, people with EDs know what those poses look like, and they can tell that somebody's trying to body check. And body checking publicly there's a lot of ethical concerns around that. It's one thing to be body checking in your mirror and to have pictures on your phone of body checks. Like, I feel like that's something a lot of people with EDs have, and that's something you want to recover from, and to be able to finally delete those pictures, because holding on to them is not supporting your recovery. But that's one thing to have it for you personally and to be struggling with that personally. But it's a whole other thing if you have a large platform and you're doing that and your audience is full of people in recovery, so they're vulnerable to those types of posts, and yet you continue to make those. That's an ethical concern right there, if there ever was one. But anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day, and hopefully this made sense to somebody else besides me, because ultimately I think we're all looking for people to understand us. But thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye.